I heard it calling my name from the water's edge at exactly 3:47 a.m. It's a voice that sounded like my dead mother gargling lake water. "Ethan," it whispered, wet and hollow. "Ethan, come see what I've become." When I looked out my window, something was pulling itself onto the dock with arms too long to be human, spine bent backwards, lake water pouring from its mouth like a broken faucet. I live alone in my grandfather's cabin on Lake Mercer, 40 miles from the nearest town. It's left it to me when he died last year, along with a letter that said don't go in the water after dark and nothing else. I thought it was dementia talking, the confused warnings of a dying mind. Scattered his ashes in the lake at sunset like he'd wanted, watched them disappear into the dark water. I thought nothing of his strange last words. The cabin sits on a peninsula that juts into the deepest part of the lake. The water here is almost black, even in daylight, deep enough that local fishermen won't drop lines. They say the bottom has never been mapped, that the lake goes down and down into underground caverns that connect to something else. My grandfather used to say the lake was older than the mountains, that it existed before humans had words for darkness. I'd been here for 6 months, enjoying the isolation, the silence, the way the lake looked like black glass under moonlight. I worked remotely as a software developer, spent my evenings reading on the dock, sometimes swam during the day when the sun made the water less forbidding. Nothing unusual had happened until 3 nights ago, when I saw the handprints on my kayak. They were on the underside, visible when I flipped it for cleaning. Small handprints, child-sized, pressed into the fiberglass hard enough to leave permanent impressions. The prints were webbed between the fingers, the nails elongated into something like claws, tined up. I touched one and felt a residue, something slick and cold that smelled like rotting fish. A guy had been on the dock all night. I told myself it was a raccoon, maybe an otter, some logical explanation, but the prints were too human, too deliberate. And there were drag marks leading from the water to where the kayak had been, grooves in the wood like something heavy had pulled itself up from the lake. Gosh! I scrubbed the dock with bleach until my hands burned, trying to erase the evidence of whatever had visited in the night. The second night, I woke to the sound of scratching on the cabin's outer wall, slow, methodical scratching like something was testing the wood, looking for weakness. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight, pressed my face to the window. First I saw nothing but darkness and the moon's reflection on the lake. Then something moved near the foundation, something pale and glistening. It was gone before I could focus on it, sliding back toward the water with a wet, slithering sound. In the morning, I found the scratches, deep gouges, in the logs, ranged in groups of 4, starting at the waterline and extending up toward my bedroom window. Whatever made them had been climbing, testing how high it could reach. The highest marks were just below my windowsill. I called the sheriff's department, got a deputy named Miller who clearly thought I was wasting his time. He drove out, looked at the scratches, suggested a bear. They'll claw at cabins sometimes, looking for food, he said. Bored. You keeping your trash secured? I showed him the handprints on the kayak, the webbing between the fingers. He looked uncomfortable then, said he'd file a report, and left faster than he'd arrived. That was yesterday. Last night, it came all the way onto the dock and spoke my name. I've been sitting in my locked cabin since then, watching the thing circle in the shallow water near shore. It won't leave. Every few minutes, it surfaces just enough for me to see its outline, a humanoid shape. Too long, too thin, its head turning to track my movements through the window. The sun is coming up now, and I can see it more clearly in the growing light. My stomach turns. It looks like a person who drowned years ago and kept changing underwater, kept adapting to the pressure and the darkness. Skin is translucent, showing black veins underneath. Its eyes are milky white, no pupils, but I know it can see me. It opens its mouth, and my mother's voice comes out again. Ethan, baby, don't you recognize me? The voice is perfect, exactly as I remember it. But my mother died in a car accident in Phoenix 8 years ago. She was cremated. I was at the funeral. This thing shouldn't sound like her. Shouldn't know how she called me baby in that specific tender way. Come down to the water. I've missed you so much. I back away from the window, my heart hammering. The creature tilts its head at an angle that's all wrong, nearly 90 degrees, bones clearly broken and reset in new configurations. It smiles, and its mouth extends too far, splitting its face almost to its ears. The teeth inside are translucent, like the rest of it, needle-thin and arranged in rows. My phone buzzes. A text from my ex-girlfriend Sarah. Are you okay? I had the worst dream about you drowning. We haven't spoken in 4 months. Not since the bad breakup. A text back. I'm fine. Why? She replies immediately. I dreamed you walked into a lake, and something pulled you under. It felt so real. Promise me you're okay. I don't know what to say. I look out the window and the creature is holding up one elongated hand, fingers spread in what might be a wave. I go through my grandfather's things, the boxes I haven't unpacked yet. There has to be something here, some explanation for his warning. Cana. In the closet, I find his journals, decades of entries about the lake. Cana. The earliest ones are normal. Fishing reports, weather observations, maintenance notes for the cabin. Cana. Then, about 15 years ago, the entries change. Heard singing from the water last night. Mary's voice, but Mary is in the ground in Towson. That was my grandmother's name, and she died long before I was born. It's the next entry. Saw her face in the water. She's asking me to come in. I know it's not her. I know it, but God help me. I want to believe. His handwriting becomes shakier as the entries progress. The lake takes things he wrote a year before his death. It takes them down to where the bottom should be but isn't, and it changes them, sends them back wrong. Seen Thompson's boy, the one who drowned in '03. He's not a boy anymore. It's not anything anymore. They come out at night and call to the living in familiar voices. Stay want company down there in the dark. The last entry is dated 3 days before he died. If you're reading this, I'm gone. I left the cabin to Ethan because he's strong, because he needs to know. The lake has been here since the world was young. It's not just water. It's a mouth, a throat, a passage to somewhere else. Things live in the deep parts, old things that remember when the earth was different. They collect the drowned and remake them. They're building something down there, an army, a family. I don't know, but they're getting bolder. They used to stay deep. Now they come to the shallows. Eventually they'll come onto land. Someone needs to watch. Someone needs to warn people when the time comes. I drop the journal. My hands are shaking so badly I can barely hold it. Outside, the creature has been joined by others. I count 5 of them now, all standing in the shallow water, all facing the cabin. They're different sizes, one small like a child, one massive and hulking, the others in between. They stand perfectly still, water lapping at their translucent bodies. The child-sized one speaks next, and I recognize my cousin Devin's voice. Devin drowned in this lake when we were both 12, got tangled in weeds while swimming. They found his body 3 days later. Hey Ethan, remember when we used to catch frogs here? Want to come catch frogs? The frogs down deep are way cooler. They have extra eyes and everything. I close all the curtains, seal myself in the cabin's interior. But I can still hear them calling, cycling through voices of people I've known, people I've loved. My mother, Devin, my high school best friend who died in Iraq, my college roommate who overdosed. The lake has them all somehow, knows them all, is using them like puppets to lure me out. My phone rings. Unknown number. I answer without thinking. Ethan. My grandfather's voice, rough and familiar. You need to leave, boy. Get in your car and drive away. Don't pack, don't think, just run. I can hear water in the background, a hollow, dripping echo. I was wrong to leave you the cabin. I thought you could handle it, but they're too interested in you. They want you specifically. Why? I managed to ask. Why me? Because you scattered my ashes in the water, he says, and there's infinite sadness in his voice. Bitch, you gave them a piece of you willingly. Your grief, your love. It marked you. Splee. They can taste it in the water. Your bloodline, your connection to this place. And there's something else. Your grandmother, your mother, Devon, all the family who died, they all have a piece of you in their memory. The lake collected those memories when it took their bodies, or their ashes. It knows you intimately. You're not a stranger. Tia, your family. The line goes dead. I look out through a gap in the curtains and see my grandfather standing on the dock, water streaming from his clothes. He looks exactly as he did in his casket, but taller, longer, changed. Meets my eyes and shakes his head slowly, a warning. The other creatures pull him back into the water, and he goes without resistance. I run to my car, keys in hand. But when I open the cabin door, they're waiting on the porch, all of them. They've left the water, and they're standing there dripping, translucent skin gleaming in the early morning light. The largest one reaches for me with fingers that are too long, joints that bend too many times. We just want to talk, it says in a voice I don't recognize. Something older than the human voices. Something that sounds like water moving through ancient stone. I slam the door and lock it. They don't try to break in, and just wait. I can see them through the window, standing in a semicircle, perfectly patient. We have all the time in the world. I try to call 911, but there's no signal now. The Wi-Fi is down. I'm cut off completely, alone with these things that wear familiar voices like masks. Hours pass. The sun climbs higher. The creatures don't move, don't seem affected by daylight like monsters and stories should be. They just stand there, waiting for me to make a choice. Come out, or stay in. But I can't stay in forever. The cabin has a well pump, but the water comes from the lake. I have some bottled water, maybe 3 days worth if I ration. Food for a week, maybe less. As if reading my thoughts, the thing that sounds like my mother speaks again. You'll have to come out eventually, baby. We're patient. We've been patient for thousands of years. What's a few more days, okay? The others laugh. A sound like water gurgling down a drain. Besides, is it really so bad down there? We're happy. We're together. All the family, all together in the deep. I think about my grandfather's journal, about the things living in the unexplored depths. I think about the people I've lost, their voices coming from those translucent throats. The lake has been collecting my family for generations, piece by piece, building toward this moment. And I'm the last piece, the final connection. Night falls again. The creatures remain on the porch, illuminated by my outdoor lights. In the dark, I can see others in the water, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. They fill the shallows around the cabin, a congregation of drowned things waiting for their newest member. The child-sized one presses its face against the window, and I see Devon's features beneath the translucent skin, stretched and wrong but recognizable. It doesn't hurt, Ethan, Devon's voice says. The drowning hurts for a minute, but then you breathe the water, and everything changes. You can see so far in the dark. You can hear the old ones singing, They'll sing to you too. They'll teach you your new name, the name you had before you were human. Something about that phrase catches in my mind. Before I was human, I ask through the glass. Devin nods, his head bobbing on a neck that's too long. We all were something else first, a long time ago. The lake remembers. It wants to take us back to what we were. Isn't that beautiful? Let's go home to what you were always meant to be. I back away from the window, my mind reeling. The creature is insane, I tell myself. It's just trying to confuse me, to make me open the door. But part of me, some deep reptilian part of my brain, responds to the words. I've always felt drawn to deep water, always felt most peaceful near lakes and oceans. My family has lived near Lake Mercer for 5 generations. What if there's something in our blood, something old? My phone buzzes one last time. A photo I didn't take appears in my gallery. Me, standing on the dock last week, scattering my grandfather's ashes. But in the water behind me, barely visible, are faces. Hundreds of pale faces just below the surface, watching me, mouths open in song or hunger. I was never alone here. They were always watching, always waiting. The sun will rise in a few hours, though the creatures will still be there. I'm out of water now, my throat dry as sand. The lake whispers through the pipes, offering relief. All I have to do is turn on the tap, drink deep, let it into my body. I could open the door, walk down to the water's edge, let them take me to the deep places. I can hear singing now, coming from the lake. It's beautiful and terrible. Voices harmonizing in frequencies that hurt my ears, but soothe something deeper. My grandfather is out there singing. My mother, Devin, all of them calling me home to depths I've never seen but somehow remember. The doorknob is cold in my hand. I don't remember standing up, don't remember walking to the door, Atia, and the singing is so beautiful, and my family is waiting. They know my name, my real name, the one the lake gave me before I was born. Kitandanab.